Hi everyone, my name is Sacha Altai, and today I will present our paper with Hugo Mercier, Happy Thoughts, the role of communion in accepting and sharing misbeliefs. There is a well-documented negativity bias in human psychology, such as the famous paper by Baumeister, Bad is Stronger Than Good. And this negativity bias makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, since on average the potential cost of negative events, such as being eaten by a lion, are higher than the potential benefits of positive events. It's the classic error management theory. And this negativity bias influences the likelihood that different kinds of content become culturally successful. For instance, we pay more attention to negative information, we are more likely to share negative information, and we are more likely to remember negative information. So, negative content seems to have a head start compared to positive content in the race to be culturally successful. Yet, despite this head start, many positive and happy misbeliefs are culturally successful, such as the belief in heaven. And in this presentation, I will mostly focus on misbeliefs, but my argument is not restricted to misbeliefs and applies to beliefs more generally, regardless of their veracity. And we focused on misbeliefs with Hugo because they seem more puzzling than accurate beliefs. And since they are less constrained by reality than accurate beliefs, we could expect that their content would be more strongly influenced by natural biases of the human mind. There are entire categories of misbeliefs that are positive. For instance, most misbeliefs related to alternative medicine or traditional medicine are positives. To take timely examples, during the pandemic, there were fake news about vitamin C being a cure against COVID, but also tea, coconut oil, lemon, alcohol. All these misbeliefs are positive in the sense that they bring hope to people, and their consequences, if true, are extremely positive. So we investigated how can misbeliefs compete against sad beliefs? Why are there so many happy beliefs and happy misbeliefs? What could be the benefits of believing and sharing happy misbeliefs? One intuitive answer could be that it just feels good, but believing things that make us feel good won't improve our fitness. On the contrary, it can be damaging. If anything, we should rather give more weight to things that could make us feel bad. It's again the classic error management theory argument. And since we couldn't think of any compelling individual benefits associated with believing and sharing happy misbeliefs, we explored the potential social benefits. So could there be social benefits in sharing and saying that one believes happy misbeliefs? We hypothesize that sharing and saying that one believes happy misbeliefs can signal one's niceness. That is, signal how benevolent you are. And the broad rationale is that by sharing things that will make others happy, you signal that you value their well-being, that you have good intentions, whereas, for example, by sharing things that are negative and will make others sad, you could signal that you can impose a cost on others' well-being. And so to test this broad hypothesis, we conducted 7 online experiments with UK and US participants, and we replicated these results in Japan for a total of 3,800 participants. Oh, sorry, I'm behind the slides. We selected 42 misbeliefs, such as naturopathy and stone therapy can be an effective treatment, technology with mind control capacity is used on people without their knowledge, good things can happen to certain people because they attract positive energy, bad things can happen to people because they attract negative energy, and there is a heaven, there is a hell. And we asked participants to rate how happy it would make someone who believes in these misbeliefs. And basically, what we found is that beliefs related to alternative medicine and traditional medicines are deemed very happy. Whereas, for example, the category of conspiracy theories beliefs are sad. And obviously, hell is sad and heaven is happy. In the first experiment, what we tested is whether people who self-describe as nicer or more benevolent, if you will, are more willing to share and believe happy misbeliefs. So basically, it's an interaction between participants' personality and the valence, like how happy or sad the misbeliefs are. And to measure participants' benevolence, we relied on the big two. So there is a large literature in social psychology that identified two main dimensions. of impression formation, communion, that is how willing you are to confer benefits to others, and how much you have their interest at heart, and agency, which is basically how competent you are and how able you are to confer benefits to others. And so communion was measured with words such as kind, nice, caring, and affectionate, and agency with words such as rational, wise, bossy, and dominant. So in the first experiment, participants were presented with misbeliefs and asked how willing they would be to share them and the extent to which they agreed with the misbeliefs, so how much they believed it. Then participants had to rate how well words related to agency and communion describe them. Here are the results. The red lines are people who self-describe as higher in communion compared to the mean, and the blue dotted lines will be people who self-describe as lower in communion compared to the mean. The y-axis is how happy it makes someone who believes it. Here it's how willing participants were to share it, and the extent to which they agreed with the beliefs. We see the predicted interaction among English and Japanese participants. That is, participants who self-describe as nicer, in red or pink, were more willing to believe and share happier misbeliefs. The effect is not massive, but it's robust. Then we reasoned that if people share happy misbeliefs to appear nice, their willingness to share misbeliefs and happy misbeliefs should be modulated by their social goal. So we hypothesized that people should be more willing to share happy misbeliefs when they are motivated to appear nice. So we told participants to imagine that they were in a situation where they wanted to appear either dominant and competent or nice and kind. And we asked them how willing they were to share a series of happy or sad misbeliefs. And you will see here the happy misbeliefs in pink and in blue the sad misbeliefs. Here is when we told participants that they had to appear dominant and competent, here is nice and kind, and here is how willing participants were to share the misbeliefs. We found an interaction, that is, participants showed a preference for happy misbeliefs compared to sad misbeliefs when wanting to appear nice and kind, but not when wanting to appear dominant and competent. And we replicated this pattern in Japan, that is, participants were more willing to share happy misbeliefs when motivated to appear nice and kind than when motivated to appear dominant and competent. Cool, but does it work? Like, we found evidence that people who self-describe as nicer are more likely to share and believe happier misbeliefs, and that happy misbeliefs are preferred in situations where one needs to appear nice and kind. But does sharing and believing happy misbeliefs really makes one appear nicer? We presented participants with a series of either happy or sad misbeliefs, and we told them that these statements were randomly selected from someone who has said, someone has said this statement in the past few months. So, randomly selected statement from someone in the past few months. Then we asked participants to evaluate the personality of the person who shared the statements, again with words related to communion and agency. I will show you the result of this experiment. So in blue will be the communion ratings of people who shared sad misbeliefs. In pink, a general communion score that we computed by asking participants to rate the personality of people in general. And in green, the communion score of people who shared happy misbeliefs. You see that sharing happy misbeliefs in green here, so the people who shared happy misbeliefs were deemed as higher in communion, so nicer basically, than a baseline score of communion, and than individuals sharing sad misbeliefs. We replicated this pattern in another experiment. Again, you see that people sharing happy misbeliefs are deemed higher in communion than the generic score of communion, and then people sharing sad misbeliefs. And we also somewhat replicated this pattern in Japan. So this time, individuals sharing happy misbelief in green here were deemed higher in communion than people who shared sad misbeliefs again, but they were not higher than a baseline score of communion. And I will come back to this baseline problem later. But for now, it seems that sharing happy misbeliefs has benefits. You appear higher in communion, while sharing sad misbeliefs only entails costs, appearing lower in communion. But let's see what the sharing of happy and sad misbeliefs does to perceived agency. So agency can be break down in two more fundamental categories that are competence and dominance. So competence is how basically wise and rational you are, and dominant is how bossy or dominant someone is. And I will show you the results compared to the baseline score personality for happy and sad beliefs. So as we saw in the previous figure, we see here that sharing happy misbeliefs lead to higher impression of communion. But we now also see that sharing happy misbeliefs leads to lower perceived dominance. And that sharing sad beliefs, on the other hand, decrease both perceived competence, here, and communion, but it slightly increases perceived dominance. And we replicated these results among English and Japanese participants by specifying the gender of the individual sharing the statements. And we found gender differences in baseline score of communion, so it's in pink here. So among Japanese participants, you can see that women here were rated as higher in communion than men. And the same goes for English participants. Women here were rated as higher, on average, the baseline score, than men. And for both men and women, someone sharing happy misbeliefs here was deemed higher in communion than someone sharing sad misbeliefs. You see this pattern all over the place. And we found no strong gender differences in terms of competence, but we found that sharing happy misbeliefs slightly increases perceived competence. You see here that the green is more on the right than the blue distribution for both men and women in Japan and among English participants. And finally, we found large gender differences in terms of perceived dominance between men and women in Japan. You can see that men are rated as higher in dominance than women in Japan, and that sharing sad misbeliefs compared to happy misbeliefs led to higher perceived dominance. You can see here, for example, that the blue distribution is more on the right than the green one. Here it's the same. Here you can see because of me, but it's the same. And here there is a small effect. So a quick recap. People who self-describe as nicer are more likely to believe and share happy misbeliefs. People prefer to share happy misbeliefs when willing to appear nice and kind rather than competent and dominant. And sharing happy misbeliefs lead to being perceived as nicer and kinder, but also less dominant. So in conclusion, holding and sharing misbeliefs may serve social functions, such as signaling hidden qualities and conveying desired impressions. In particular, sharing and believing negative misbelief increases perceived dominance at the cost of communion, while sharing and believing positive misbelief increases perceived communion but at the cost of dominance. And this might explain why positive misbelief can compete against negative misbeliefs. Basically, they allow us to appear nice. And thank you for your attention. The version of the paper that you will find on PSI Archive will probably not include the results with the Japanese participants yet, but in the near future I will update the paper. And I'm sorry I can't be here for the Q&A, but it's 2 a.m. in France, and if I go to sleep after midnight, I'm not productive the next day, and I need to finish my PhD thesis and things like that, so I can't afford that, sorry. Sorry for missing the party, and don't hesitate to send me an email with questions or a DM on Twitter, whatever, and no need to be formal, you can just ask your question, and I will know it comes from someone from the conference. Bye!